visit with a person of high strangeness. I have on the same clothes as I did last week. But our interviews with George Armiat and Coyote went so well, so we decided to go and keep going and give you some stories about some of the friends. And that's why I'm still dressed the way I am. We're gonna have some salmon and just sit around and chat. So come right along. Well, George, we almost went overtime here, do you know? It was so interesting, but from what I understand, next week we're going to have a round table with your friends.
Oh yeah,
So-
notably with Owen.
Owen, yeah, see, so tell me, if I forget to ask you something now, feel free to bring it back up. What you eating, hon?
Oh, watermelon here.
Watermelon.
We got the bounty of the land here. Watermelons, and we got clams, oysters. You know, the other day, last week, I went and wrote a letter to my friend in New York, and I said I'm picking smoked salmon out of my teeth, and in the background there's mussels, clams, and oysters, and in a wine, red wine, tomato-based sauce. I said that's what us poor people eat up here in the Northwest.
In the Northwest, so they jumped on their sailboat and came, right?
Oh yeah. So they come up from Mexico, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True aliens.
Well, this is Mark Provo. He's gonna play a song for us here.
Ain't it easy on a sunny day to laugh with the one you love, each knowing that the time is now, wouldn't want anything changed, recounting the times of things you've seen differently apart. It's so nice to have a mirror in that friend's eyes to be. I regret riding a crest of time. It's surrounded in your ears to people's hearts in rhyme. Ain't it easy? Ain't it easy? How often I felt myself in a daydream, thinking about things, life was a new thing. But sometimes we're young, and sometimes we discover that all can fade away. But we find ourselves having no other, sharing itself to real in ways it'll go. I tell myself I understand, but my heart wants to know, where is the love? Will it come to us? Bring on the love. Don't let it stray. Bring it in.
Thank you. I've never heard that song.
I sort of made it up.
You said, oh my God, that's, I was thinking that. Ooh-wee. I thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Here we have bread,
Is everybody else in there now?
potatoes,
Oh, they
watermelon,
like a crack. Okay.
and salmon. Go cut close here. This looks so good.
I took it off because I like to throw.
Corn,
Okay.
more salmon.
Okay.
Don't that look good? Can't eat that. That's an amethyst. pine cones. And the Thunderbird. Raven.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-bedroom?
Yeah.
This is the Black Madonna. Poland's Patriot Saint. And how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So we kind of, Corolla, we kind of friends from a distance and just don't get together very often, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's really nice bumping into you. So tell me, you have, how long have you been here in the country, I mean?
I've been in the country almost 20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
That's quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you speak French and Spanish and
And German.
German.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that helpful in your work?
Sometimes. Sometimes it breaks the ice if you can speak a little Spanish or a little German or
I know.
French. Yeah. it
I
does.
capitalize on that sometimes. People are nosy by nature and I'm counting on that. And when you have an accent and then they say, oh, who are you?
Yeah, always. Where are you from?
And that opens the dialogue,
It
doesn't
does.
it? Mm-hmm.
It does.
So what do you do, Han?
I have a practice here in Olympia and I do rolfing, structural
Rolfing.
integration.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps people a lot with their structure, their posture, chronic pains.
I think I picked up some papers in reference to that at a health food store one time. Don't you use a I can't think of the word. What are your tools? Let's make it easy. What are
My
your
tools are my hands,
Uh-huh.
my knuckles, my
Mm-hmm.
elbows, but I have to say my elbows after 20 years are as sensitive as my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the longer you use your elbows and you go into a hip area or a leg area or right alongside the spine, you kind of have that extended feeling of that you have in your fingers if you use that long enough. And the brain, actually, it's proven that the brain will make new maps of sensation for areas that you use extensively that you don't use.
I'm still trying to think of the word. Trampoline, is that what you use?
Trampoline?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't know what that means.
Uh,
I know a trampoline, what that means, but not in my work.
we did a show with a lady that said she did rolfing. She had like a little trampoline.
Oh.
She was laying people on and I think she got it rolfing.
Some people say that they do rolfing and then they say,
They do something else.
and sometimes they do something else or they heard about it or they did a little class, but it's quite an extensive training.
So people come to you by word of mouth or
Mostly, yeah, mostly word of mouth. I have quite a few chiropractors, doctors that
Referrals.
refer to me that saw good results and that were saying, oh, this seems to be working. And so I work together with chiropractors because chiropractors work in the bone and we work in the deep tissue, the connective tissue, ligaments, tendons, all the tissue that envelops every muscle and every bone in the body. So we work in that connective tissue. So sometimes I even work together on people that have had accidents and I work on their neck. And then straight after me, they go to the chiropractor, and then the chiropractor can set the bones, but the muscles
the muscle.
are looser.
Compare
they
rolfing to a massage for me.
Rolfing is more in the corner of PT, physical therapy, and chiropractic in the sense that it has an objective and that it can make structural changes. A massage is oftentimes to relieve a little pain, to relax. A rolfing is really consists of 10 to 12 sessions where you really address every part of the body with certain intention. And you say, what can we do to make this body function better, to make this body have more optimum energy, to have this body less pain, to have this body better organized.
Now, do you remember a lot about living in Europe?
Yes.
Okay. Can we compare the everybody talks about healthcare right now, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and socialism and this and that. what I remember about my short time in Europe is they didn't wait till I got sick. They looked out for me. And if I did get sick, they sent me the cure afterwards. So,
Yeah.
what is your thought on that?
I do think that in Europe the health system is better in the way that you can go easier to the doctor and have things done before they get really bad.
Right.
So what I hear here is people here in America go to the ER quite a lot for
Right.
little things because they haven't taken care of it earlier.
Yeah.
In Holland, for instance, what I see a lot in Holland is our doctors have weekend service. So you don't have to go to the ER because the doctor has night one doctor in our town has weekend and night service. So what you do is if you have a problem, you call the doctor first. If it's really severe,
He'll come
he
to
will,
you.
he will send you to the ER. But because you don't have that service here anymore in Holland, in my town, the doctors agree on who's going to have the night service that weekend. So every 6 weeks you got a night service and a weekend service. And that really helps to keep the cost down. And here what I see is a rampant use of ER, which I don't blame on the consumer or on the system, but it's become that way. And that's very costly. And the people that are in the ER for very serious reasons don't get help.
Don't get help, yeah.
Because there's so many other people that don't know where to go.
Well, like roving and massage and physical therapy and Höhenzonne, for instance. All that would be available before you got to the point, so you don't never have
yes,
to go to the ER.
Definitely have I definitely have quite a few people that come to me because they just want to maintain their health.
Right.
And they don't want to, and they want to be ready before they get sick. So they want to maintain their health, maintain their body in a good position, in a good structure, well organized, have the highest possibility of energy and use of their body.
So I often wonder why some of these rumors were started that socialized, what they consider socialized is a bad thing. Maybe it's the wrong word. Can we give it another word?
When I moved to America, I started to hear like, you live in a socialist country, Holland, and I never thought of it that way. I always had the impression that Holland was a democratic country.
Right.
Where everybody had a vote. And also in Holland, when I was in Holland a few years ago, I was in the car and the radio was on, and suddenly someone was talking to the Prime Minister on the radio.
On the radio.
And this guy, just a random guy from the public, was saying, Prime Minister, what this law seems very silly to me. Why did you implement that law? And so it seems to me that in Holland, when you disagree, and in Europe in general, when you disagree, it's not really a problem. It's basically a feeding ground for understanding, instead of like opposing what you don't disagree with and fighting that and not wanting to hear that.
Yeah, we miss a lot of good stuff like that, you know.
We miss a lot of good stuff because we have no idea what the other party really thinks, feels, wants. And if we could know that, then we could at least found 10, 20, 30, 40% common ground. And now we're just like, no, French fries are now going to called freedom fries.
Yeah.
So we don't listen to the French, what else they have to say, because they're opposed to our politics in Iraq. And to me, that's in Holland, that doesn't happen because we are enjoying almost. I'm not saying enjoying, but we're open to the discussion. We're open to the debate. It's like, what do you think? Well, you know what? I don't agree, but how can we make this better? Or where do we agree?
So I know as a massage therapist and people like that, sometimes when we work on people's bodies,
Yes.
Most of us are intuitive because when it tells us what to do and
Yes.
where to go. And a lot of times we can address people's fears and underlying problems that got them there in the first place. So how do you incorporate that, do you know?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, and I, even though I've done this for 15, 20 years, I'm still learning to talk less, to listen more, and to be very subtle about how to almost create a sacred space for people to move forward. Because as we all know by now, talk only gets us to a certain place. So we want to, what I really try to do is listen a lot and try to say to the people, I understand what you're saying. And sometimes people just want somebody to listen.
That's it. Yeah.
Sometimes people just want a witness. They don't need advice, they don't need solutions, because their life will continue. Their husband will stay that way. Their children will go through their teenage years. And there's advice in many things. But sometimes when people put themselves on a table in their underwear, practically almost naked,
Vulnerable.
they want to be heard. Be heard. And to be heard is a vital component of the human experience. And so I'm learning, every day I'm learning more to, and to say, I understand what you're saying, and not to always find a solution. Every now and then I will say, do you want to hear my point of view, or would you like some tools for this problem? I invite myself to the conversation instead of putting myself in a spot of being the healer or the knower and saying, you should do this, you should. Because we all know, what I see a lot is people being guilty, feeling guilty about not working out enough, not eating well enough. So there's a basis of things that we all do or don't do. So if a person comes to me with certain issues in their knees and they're overweight, I can say, well, you're overweight, that's why you have problems in your knees. It's very simple, in a straight line, in a linear way of thinking. But if I tackle it from different directions and listen to them, then maybe they will say at some point, wow, I do have a problem there, and I can kind of like work on that, and the other issues will disappear. They're not always solved with diet and going for a walk.
That's absolutely true.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing to go on a diet or a walk if you're overweight, but I'm saying that there's other avenues and there's other ways of addressing it. Because if you are the fifth person that says to a person, but look at you, you're overweight, that's why you have knee problems, that person will leave.
Absolutely. You know, I interviewed a retired surgeon from Russia, and he was retired, but he did acupuncture.
Yes.
And he applied the same principles in his metaphorical thinking as he did when he was a surgeon.
Yes.
And like he said, like when I did surgery, I knew exactly, before I opened them up, I looked at what I was looking for and I could see it, like a medical intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah, and so then if we work at it like that, are you hopeful that something like that is going to be incorporated in American healthcare?
I think that there's a movement of people that are pioneers, and there's a few pillars of those pioneers, and there's people that are working from other sides of it, and there's not really like a movement that's connected, but I would say from different pillars of the physical, of the theoretical, of the spiritual, there's people working on these things and say there's more to just saying ABC, 1, 2, 3. Work out, get this, diet, get that. Yes, it is important, but those are not the only components to a person's health and well-being. And sometimes what happens, what I'm trying to say with this example, is that sometimes a person might go at it another way, and when this person has a certain freedom in their body, they might not have to hold certain things in their body. They might not have to be overweight anymore because that issue is resolving, or is healing, or is being touched, or is being heard. And then there's so much more subtleties than just the ABC, 1, 2, 3. But we all know the world is ruled by
ABC.
the linears, the straights, and by straight I don't mean straight and gay, but I mean straight is
Straight,
like
yeah,
A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Just do this and you get that. The theorists, the scientists. And I think the people of feeling, the people of senses, the people of it's much harder to describe. So there's less rules, regulations possible, and there's always some quacks around too.
Quacks, yeah.
Because it's indescribable, there's people around, oh yeah, I can heal you. I just put my hands
Oh, I
there,
know
or I
it.
give you some color, some pink. You need some pink, or it's
I
the
know.
inner child.
I know, it's awful, yeah, I know.
So it's a difficult area because so I mix the real physical in my practice, and I really add the other more in a more subtle sense. I never say I do this or I hear that. I try to put it in
It's just a
words.
knowing, you just
It's
do
more
it.
like a knowingness, and it's more like incorporating that into my physical practice. My practice is very physical. We work on certain areas, certain muscles. We help heal certain issues. I have people from auto accidents that get great healing, where I've had people with neck injuries that say, you know, my doctor gives me painkillers, antidepressants, and says the nurse will never heal. So I don't say to them, nurse will heal, of course, nurse will reuse themselves. I say, well, let's see what we can do. And usually people come away with their neck moving again in all directions, and they say, wow, I didn't want to take those medications for the rest of my life, and I didn't really want to take antidepressants because I wasn't depressed, I was in pain. But some doctors say, you're in pain, you're depressed. Here's all the medications,
That's it,
and
yeah.
that's it. There's very good doctors too. Very good doctors.
Is it affordable?
Rolfing? Yeah, I would say many insurances pay for
Or they pay,
rolfing.
insurance pays for it? Oh, well, that's good.
There's the state insurance, Uniform, Premier Blue Cross, Aetna. Many insurances pay for rolfing because rolfing in this state falls under massage. It's basically a specialty in this state under massage. And so I'm very happy with that because it makes it accessible,
Accessible,
to a
yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah, I didn't know they paid for things like
Yes,
that.
yeah, and
Or-
sometimes they pay a part. In some insurances they pay 90%, in some insurances 50%,
Yeah.
in some insurances 40%. But people also in rolfing really have to kind of be dedicated to the process of healing. And I say, whatever insurance you have, whatever life you have, always be proactive in your health. If you need something and you really want it, if you have to pay a part of it, and you think it's very beneficial to your healing, then maybe you should be willing to pay for a certain part of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm really hoping that we get, well, by the time this airs,
Yes.
I'm hoping we have a handle on healthcare and it includes some of the things that we've seen as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we worked on it for a long time.
Long time.
Ted Kennedy, who just died this week,
I know it.
worked on it basically his whole life.
His whole life, yeah.
And he connected with Obama,
Yeah.
and Obama is carrying the torch.
You know, a lot of people miss that. We was watching this, Lisa and I
Yes.
was watching this documentary last night, and I was telling her that I heard Kennedy. He said,
Yes.
"I'm passing the torch," and a lot of people
I didn't
missed
even
that.
hear that, but
Yes, but they missed what he said.
oh, they did.
And so we watched the documentary for 2 hours, and at the very end, there it was. I said, "You see, I did hear that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't see that, but I really, when I saw the documentary a few days ago about Ted Kennedy, and I saw the inauguration and how Ted Kennedy was so involved with Obama, I saw the connection with the healthcare. It seems to be, it's a big issue because people think I'm healthy, and now all the other people, I'm going to pay for all the other people to get well.
We can
and
pay for
I'm
it
okay.
anyway. Yeah.
And there is an issue with that. There is it's very intricate. So a lot of people are afraid that their own health care will be taken away or their own care, and it is true. Even in democratic countries like Holland, healthcare is not as cheap anymore. Healthcare is not as widespread available anymore. It's people have to pay higher premiums, and but it's still working fairly well
Mm-hmm.
compared to here, where the ERs are flooded
Yeah.
and people don't really know where to go, and the healthcare system is so almost corrupted that it's 2.5 times as expensive as anywhere in the world.
I was in Europe on vacation visiting my mother. I collapsed in the street.
Yes.
And of course, as a German national,
Uh-huh.
at that time, they took me to the doctor. And, well, actually, then they decided I need my heart checked.
Yeah.
So they put me in a taxi cab. And they took me from Bad Kreuznach to Darmstadt in a cab. And I got one of the finest cardiologists. And I had to go twice a week, and they would transport me even.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it hadn't been for that really good cardiologist, I'd have been SOL, I'm telling you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so I don't know how we got to the healthcare, but that's okay.
Yeah.
There's some weird berries on that. Let me show you these berries. Hang on a minute here.
Okay.
Did you know what kind of berries these are?
Yes, those are huckleberries.
Huckleberries. Oh, how weird.
Yeah, huckleberries. They really don't do well in gardens unless you have shade and the right. They don't transplant very well. They're okay to eat, but not awesome.
Uh-huh. So, you were born in Holland?
Yes.
Did you know you was always going to come to America?
No, but there were some precursors because I always used a lot of ketchup, and my family always used to
Ketchup.
say ketchup, and my family always used to say, "You're an American. You're gonna live in America." And I used to love to make ribs and corn on the cob when I was in college for my friends, and they were always like, "Oh, you gotta go to America. That's what they eat over there." And I never was wishing to go there, but I wound up here.
Isn't that
It was
amazing?
kind of funny.
Yeah, isn't it
Yes.
amazing how different things, like you say, kind of predestined almost?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Always like, "Oh, you're such an American," or "You should go to America."
Uh,
And it was never in my ideas or my dreams, or it just happened.
So I went to school in Europe for
Yes.
very few short time, and we were multilingual there too. Did you learn this in school, or did this come later?
Yeah, we learn in school. We go to
English and French, no?
High school starts at 12, 13,
Right.
and then we have 5 to 6 years, and we learn French, English, and then I learned Spanish by myself at private class because I really liked it. And I studied Spanish for a year before I went on to study other things. And
You're a lot younger than I am, but do you remember Esperanto?
Esperanto, yes, but it was when I was, let me say, high school age and a little older. I kind of looked at it. We didn't learn it, and it was out there, but it was kind of. My reasoning was I rather learn Spanish.
Well, they say there's less than 1,000 people on the planet that can speak Esperanto.
Yeah, I know about it, but it was to me it was like, okay, Spanish. I was raised with some Spanish because I had lived in South America for a few years when I was very young, so I had that Spanish in my blood and the Spanish culture and the Latino thing. So Esperanto to me was like, why would I learn a language that's completely new, combined of all these languages, where I could learn Spanish that's already established and has such a beautiful passion. I love Spanish because it has a lot of passion in it, and taka 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 ta. It's very staccato.
It has a lot of Latin in it.
A lot of Latin, so and I studied Latin and Greek in school, so I already had Latin under my belt. So then when I studied,
You're the only person since I've been in the United States that even remotely knew what I had just asked.
yeah,
Can you believe that?
yes, I can.
I'm gonna put. Oh, excuse me. Gonna put you in charge of the world. What are you gonna do?
If I was in charge of the world? If I was in charge of the world, that's a very, very difficult question right off the bat. If I was in charge of the world, I would really try to hi, what are you putting in front of me? I would like to find a way to, if I was in charge of the world, I would like to find a way to, to mellow out the bullies. I would like to mellow out the hatred. I would like to mellow out the adversity, the strong opposition. I would like to mellow out greed. I would like to mellow out those kind of things, personal gains, greed, hatred. And I think that would start with children. I would start with children. We all have old traits inside of ourselves, and how is society nurturing some of them, nurturing not some of them? How is dysfunction in families, in life, dysfunction creating a lot of, or fostering a lot of greed and hate? And I would like to start from the start and see where we could get together with families and say, how can our children, I am in a neighborhood with a bunch of families where we get together once a week and we have a meal once a week and our children play together, and we feel very blessed because we're with 5 families that come together once a week, which is more than any larger family does nowadays. Not a core family, but a large family at large. And our children play together, and one child pushes the other, and the other one gets hurt. We talk about, another child says, I don't want to play with you. And so we talk about these things, and we talk about how we can help our children, not push them into playing with our kid or their kid, but how we can really, it takes an immense amount of nurturing our child and talking with our children and say, where can I find another solution? Where you say, I don't want to play with her, or she's just a girl, or he's this, or she's that, or pushing, or stepping on each other, literally running on top of each other's arm or leg or spine, and saying like, this is all, these children are all experimenting with all kinds of feelings of all the good feelings I don't even want to address because they have them. But the feelings of like jealousy and greed, my toy, my this, my that, or go away, I don't want you because now I'm with this person, that person's more special. So I think that's where it lies. I think in communities, there's nothing better than sitting together with 5 families around the table, making dishes and saying, my kid pushed your kid yesterday. We can't move because we live in the same street, which is basically a second family as I see it. How are we going to solve this?
Okay, so I'm going to get back to my original question. You are in charge of the world. What are you going to do?
I find that I wish I could study on it and sleep
Well,
on
okay,
it.
then answer me this. Why do the Dutch put sugar on tomatoes?
They don't.
That's what I remember. When I was little, when we went to Holland, we went to Keukenhof. What was the name of the other place? Scheveningen.
Scheveningen.
And
Sugar on tomatoes.
They put sugar on tomatoes.
We put Marmite on tomato, which is a salty paste. Marmite. I don't know sugar on tomatoes, but I do know that I used to work for a very short time. I used to work for Heinz in Holland. Heinz ketchup in Holland, and the ketchup in America is sweeter, and the Coca-Cola in America is sweeter than in Europe. So I don't understand the sugar on tomatoes because we don't really. We put a little salt, sprinkle a little salt and pepper on the tomatoes, or Marmite.
I remember they put sugar on my tomatoes,
Yeah,
and I
well,
had no clue why. So
it's possible.
I thought I asked you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't recall that, but I do know that America has a very sweet tooth.
Sweet, yeah,
And
like
we have
me,
a
yeah.
little more tart and a little more
Yeah.
natural tastes.
When you first got here, you went to a culture shock?
I observed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I observed a lot. And of course I was on the West Coast and not on the East Coast, which is more similar to Europe. I see it as Europe, East Coast, West Coast. And the West Coast is more away from fashion, high society, brick buildings. Everything's wood here.
Wood, yeah.
So I see the East Coast is kind of like a step in between. You know, you go 6 hours to New York and then 5 hours to Holland. So
And then if you go to Victoria, it's like you land in England momentarily. Yeah, and they're cool.
yeah. So, but that's another kind of I when I go to Canada, I really do feel a lot of like a little bit more laid back. Laid back. The minute I come to Canada, it's a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more accepting. It's a little less neurotic.
So I'm gonna loop it back to what you did.
Not to judge the Americans because I live here and I'm, you know.
Well, I'm gonna loop it back to rolfing.
Yes.
Yeah. Usually when we have muscular problems, it's has to do with stress and everything. You know, we here is a little get together, you know, and I did some interviews, and I was telling people that I was telling the friends that Europeans go on holiday regardless.
Absolutely.
And as we speak, my niece is going to Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah.
And I said to her, this is not a good time for you to go. You have shootings at the moment.
Yeah.
You have swine flu at the moment. And there's a hurricane coming.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no sight of the hurricane, but being psychic, I saw it, you know. And you know what she said to me? It doesn't matter. I'm going on holiday.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed here that
You can't get people to
people
relax.
have like 2 weeks vacation in very corporations,
Yeah.
and the state is kind of like a different case. And in Holland, I would say the first bricklayer has 5 weeks vacation a year.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that bad towards bricklayers, but I'm just meaning of a
just-
certain segment of the population of work.
Everybody, we have such a
We
hard
have
time
5 weeks,
relaxing.
5.5 weeks, and and in Holland also it's the same climate as here.
Yeah.
But in Holland, every little cafe
Mm-hmm.
has at least 2 tables outside, no matter how small, on the sidewalk with
Yeah.
parasols. And the minute the sun comes out in March,
Yeah.
we have our coffee outside.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a little coffee outside by the water. It's more. There is still an enjoyment of our free time, and here there seems to be a running. But it doesn't mean we get more done.
Right. So how do you tell your clients, relax?
It's very different for. There's some people that have severe sleeping problems, stress issues, and I basically have like a big toolbox in my head from a myriad of books that I've read over the years, and I have like a toolbox where I kind of, is a person sleepless? How can I help that person help themselves? Not something I say, but how can this person help themselves? When they wake up at night, what can they do, literally? How can they get a tool to go back to sleep? When a person has larger issues, there's other tools. When a person has more general issues or existential issues, there's different tools for that. Then maybe if there's existential issues, I can say, well, Ken Wilber, Pema Chodron, a Buddhist person, Rinpoche, a Buddhist person. Ken Wilber is one of the major philosophers in this time, and very theoretical. So if there's existential issues, I will give people different tools. I will try to hand over, not even give, but hand over, present different tools than a person that can't sleep. A person that can't sleep, and I can totally understand it, I've been there myself, needs another tool than a person that has existential questions. or difficulties.
So are you working your passion?
I'm working my passion. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so important.
Yeah,
Huh?
I love to help people, and not only to help people, but my goal has always been help people help themselves. Because the clients that come to me and I ask them to do something this week about breathing, I give them a tool about observing themselves, their thought process or their body or how they're holding their shoulders or their arms. People that do their homework come back with the next level of questions where I can help them more help themselves. And people that just lay there and want to be fixed, I help them too, because that's their level of healing or what they come for. So I'm not saying that is worse than the other people, but the people that I have to say, the people that say, I observed myself this week and I basically have my shoulders here all the time. So what do? And then I can help them with another tool that builds on top of their observation. And the same with observing your thoughts. If you have certain thoughts that keep coming back, if you can't sleep and you're like, okay, it's all about money, or it's all about my husband, or I keep going with this story, I keep going with that story. There's books about it, but people need tools. And there's a lot of even, I would have to say, New Age, Christianity, Buddhism. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of theories, but where are the real daily disciplinary tools? Tools of awareness, tools of how can I make my life better for me, for my family, for my immediate community, and for my child's school, and then of course ripple further to society at large, the earth, well-being of all.
Yeah. I was going to ask you something. I just changed my mind, but I can do that if I want.
Absolutely.
Do you have New Year's resolutions?
New Year's resolutions.
Did you keep them? Did you keep them?
I would have to say that it's a process.
Okay, that's good enough. I always tell people I keep
It's a
all my
process.
vices. My resolution is to keep all my vices, and I always keep my resolution.
It's a process. It's a Sometimes you really get going on one resolution and it goes really well, and some others are lagging behind, and you're learning how to live with yourself with some things that you don't like as much, and move forward with some others, and some go in jumps and some go in the tortoise and the hare.
Oh, that's a good closing. It's beautiful out here.
It is
So
beautiful.
maybe we go inside and see if we can get into something, huh?
Okay.
Well, you've been delightful here. You have to come back. Did you want to give a phone number,
I
or
would
should they
love to.
call me?
They can call you. My phone number is 360-561
561
5875.
5875.
Yeah, 561-5875 in Olympia here, and I love to work with people that have anything that they want to grow into or
Okay.
get out of pain.
Okay. So I do thank you very much.
Thank you too, Lily.
Well, anyway, Carola had to leave, so now we're back to where we started. Give you a loop here at sunset, almost. And hi, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're floating around in the bay, I hear?
That's right. I'm sort of have the $1 million view and no property taxes, and the government doesn't quite know where I am.
Oh, how cool.
It sort of helps that I have that pirate thing kind of going on. I sort of decided to manifest a boat about 9 years ago, and right now I'm moored at West Bay, which is a little unusual for me. I usually like to be away from the marinas and out in my boat, and I just enjoy it. I'm a Pisces guy, and it's always been one of my passions to be out in the water. So I'm the happy steward of a wonderful 40-foot sailing vessel.
40 foot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was going to go to your place and film, and we got all turned around some kind of way.
Yeah, I thought about we could have gone there, but I was thinking if the sun came out, then some of my neighbors would be busy with their sanders and their
Making noises.
and yes, and if it continued to rain, perhaps that wouldn't be ideal as well. So
Yeah, good thinking too.
yeah,
Well, when I'm in my RV, I'm always looking for a Walmart
Oh yeah.
And so you're just looking, you have a lot more parking space than I do, don't you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can actually go and throw the anchor out almost anywhere in the South Puget Sound.
Yeah. So are you working your passion, dear?
I think so. I think it's wonderful to ask that question. It's good to ask that question. So if I said to and of course all of our lives are finite, and each day may be one less day we have here, but it feels like I'm doing what I enjoy. It's a combination of being on my boat, but it's some other things as well.
We want to hear about the other
Want to
things.
hear about those other things?
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm working again with injured workers, people who, through no fault of their own, have an unpredictable event where all of a sudden their control over their life is wrenched away from them when they get hurt on the job and don't heal up well and can't go back to what they normally have done. It puts people in a, gee, I wonder what happens next. And there's so much appointments and there's such a big insurance company that it really is it's an example of how to stop yourself from free falling and find some point of personal control in your life, even though there's lots of things on the outside you can't control. I like to work with people to help find that place where they can be grounded and perhaps not do more of the same, but perhaps embark on doing something different. So I'm doing that. That's part of my passion.
Hey, you might really enjoy that article, Canary 6.8. You might even pass it around.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to get your grounding, your
Yeah.
footing sometimes.
Yes. Sometimes the footings disappear and the house is in free fall itself.
Yeah, see, it's like sometimes we constantly think about the things we can't do instead of dealing with what we can do.
Yes. And I think it's wonderful when people begin to get an idea of how to shift just a little and then how to begin to learn maybe something new, maybe really get outside of their comfort zone, but really start to feel a sense of movement and a regaining of personal control and perhaps a plan. They begin to see a brighter horizon in the future, that it's fun to be a part of that. And as a counselor, working with injured workers, that's one of my joys. And so I'm back into that. I have 15 cases right now. I'm enjoying that.
That's a lot of cases.
It's really a lot. But,
That's a lot.
so that's a piece.
So you're going to stay regional, here for a while?
I think so.
Oh, maybe I do have to come to your boat.
It's nice. And George and I just finished filming the canoe paddle, the indigenous canoe paddle from Potlatch to Squamish Bay.
Right, that was our original story. George was going to tell us because he said, he said when you're in the water like that for 3 days, you see things. Well, he didn't say things. He spelled it out for me.
Yeah. Well, we were just witnessing it with the camera, and that's another wonderful, passionate thing. The last few years, when I am back in this first world nation, I love to witness and film some sacred ceremony. So I've really enjoyed that, and so we had that opportunity with the canoe paddle, and that's another piece of my work and avocation here, which I enjoy. So I do intend to stay. I actually have been spending, of the last 3 years, I've spent 18 months in Zihuatanejo with my friend Owen Lee. And that was it's like 200 days of endless summer or more.
Wow.
So it's interesting being back in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from, where we're lucky to have 2 months of endless summer.
That's it. Yeah. You know, I myself find very therapeutic when I film people, places, and things.
Yeah.
And then, if nothing else, I can pop it into a recorder and put myself back into that space and that time, and I find a lot of strength in that. Do you find that?
Yes, I when I do my recording, and I'm certainly not a professional, but I really enjoy it, and I've always been around at least photography, and certainly the last 10 years some camcorders, and I think that when you do record an event with people and in the context of place, and then when you save that and go back to it, it sort of re-engages your memory and takes you back to that place. So it's a wonderful, wonderful
Therapeutic
tool.
too, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I've asked everybody else. You're in charge of the world. Go.
S- am I in charge of the
You
world?
are. You're
I
in,
am?
You're in charge of the world. What are you gonna do?
Oh, if I was?
No, not if you are.
Oh, I am. Well, the first thing I'd do is there would be no more guns or shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to just, whatever that territorial imperative that existed, that functioned for a while, just like different kinds of religious practices that cause harm, they're just not necessary. Perhaps we were naturally selected for them at one point, but they certainly aren't part of an adaptive strategy now. So if I was in charge of the world, I would halt all those destructive human patterns and try to encourage and promote love and harmony in every way
Wonderful.
possible. And I would need a lot of help, so I would enlist my sisters and brothers.
Were you here last week? For last week's shows? Oh, I asked George the same question, and yeah, he topped all of us. He did. He really did. Yeah.
I like working with George. George is
Yeah.
my number one ceremony man.
He's a human.
He's
He
a
is
true
a
human being.
human.
Yes.
Uh,
A
he-
human. Yes.
Yeah, we the show gives away the Human of the Year award every year, and I was
Yeah.
kind of wondering who maybe we ought to give to George, huh?
Yeah, sure.
A human. Yeah.
Last year we sailed to Friday Harbor in the San Juan Islands from here, and George went with me, and we visited George's good friend Ruth B.B. Hill, who wrote the book Hanta Yo in 1979, and George was the Lakota expert in making sure that the HBO series Hanta Yo was an accurate reflection of Lakota life in the 1850s. And Ruth said to me, she says, Mark, George is one of the last real Indians.
Yeah.
And I believe that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you could do that, and you played for us. And
Yes.
as far as I know, I'm gonna wind the shows down. But in case I don't, we're gonna have to do some more things. And if I can ever be of any assistance to you,
Oh, well, thank you very much.
you feel free to tell me that. And you had a nice day.
It was a beautiful day today.
Beautiful day. Yeah.
Yes.
So instead of having you sing us out, we had. Whew, I'm falling over. Had you sing us in.
That's right.
Any personal thoughts that I left out that you'd like to leave with the viewer? Did not believe you as your old friends,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, my thoughts are just greetings and peace. And this is a beautiful day, and we'll have more.
Okay. So you have a safe journey. You're getting ready to leave, and
Yes.
we'll talk to you again.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.
Bye.
Provo.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The guests are gone. The lanterns are lit. All that's left from food is chips. Bugs on the table. It's an ant. Yeah. The spinning wheels have stopped. The kitties are taking a nap. Flowers have to wait until tomorrow, till the sun comes up. I guess we're gonna see you next week with another visit with someone that we haven't met yet. This is the award I was given today. George made it for me. It has all the totems: the scorpion, the dragonfly, the earth, the alien, and the praying mantis. So I was totally honored. I didn't expect that. But anyway, I was just so honored. So I see you next week. Wendy Shaw is gonna sing us out. This is a painting by George Amyot. It's not my painting, but it was a gift for a friend. In some kind of way he captured all the things that's present in the canyon. And so we leave you with that. And bye-bye.
Miss Lillian, we'd like to thank you for all the fun you took us here. Take us down, and it's just because you really care where our journey goes. All it begins is part of our planning will extend. And if we do our part, we'll fulfill our mission. We've had from the Lillian, Miss Lillian, I'd like to thank you for all the fun. Take us here, and you take us there.